So Andrew, here on my wall behind me here, you can see I've got 2 sets of bagpipes. Ask me if they're in tune.
Are they in tune?
Who cares?
I think you might be misunderstanding the theme of today's
Is that
episode,
not
Jim.
oh, see, that's I was like, "Oh, great." I thought
So we're talking about the who cares model of bagpipe tuning today,
love it. Yeah, who
right?
cares? I don't care.
And if the whether or not your bagpipes are in tune, okay, I want to teach you to not care about that.
Yeah,
But
okay, it seems counterintuitive, especially based on everything we've been talking about the last several weeks and the tuning clinic and like, all of this. It's like, "Wait, you want me to not care about tuning?"
yes, we do want to eventually get in tune, though, Jim.
Okay.
So we do care about eventually getting in tune. But you're never going to get perfectly in tune, I don't think. Certainly, I think that's a healthy viewpoint. It's
Mhm.
kind of like, you might not ever be perfectly happy. We're always kind of striving for
Mm,
more,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
You're never going to be perfectly in tune, but the goal is to be as in tune as humanly possible. That's
Mm,
definitely the goal. So we do care about that. Okay. But as for the current state of our bagpipe, I want you to apply the who cares model.
mm. What's the like, why? Why like, what's the, motivator for applying this model?
Well, because regardless of the current state of our instrument, the assumption is always that it could be better.
Yeah.
So whether or not it's in tune right now,
Mm,
it doesn't really matter to me.
mhm,
Okay. The question is, if we were going to make it better, how would we do so? That's the big question. For example, let's simplify our bagpipe down.
mhm,
So it's just two tenor drones going.
mhm.
Now, are those two drones in tune?
No, essentially never perfectly, and maybe
Well,
sometimes
and
terribly not like, extremely not so.
maybe they are perfectly in tune.
Mm. Okay, yeah, fair
Oh,
enough.
it says
Maybe they are sometimes, yeah, fair enough.
but the correct mentality here is who cares?
Mm.
Because now what I'm going to do is I have my two tenor drones going. Whether they're in tune or not, I'm going to start by just doing a test. So how would you test whether or not the two drones are in tune with each other?
I'd just move one. That's gonna be the easy way. Like we've
Exactly.
talked about before,
That's it.
the wah-wahs will come in, right? And then just see if that gets worse or not.
Yeah, and it might already have some wah-wahs, and then maybe for whatever reason, maybe you're not experienced,
Mhm.
maybe you don't have a lot of confidence, maybe you're flustered because you're getting nervous, maybe I don't know,
I'll tell
whatever
you, I'll
reasons
give
there
you a
might
good
be.
maybe. Once I was trying to tune my tenor drones in my backyard, and I did not realize my neighbor had a riding lawnmower going
There
that
you
was
go.
really close to the same frequency, and it was driving me crazy, and I finally realized it's not just my drones. My neighbor across the fence there.
Yeah, I like that. So there could be extenuating circumstances there too. So all we're gonna do is just test. So one thing that will tell us whether the drone is in tune or out of tune is if we move it and the quality of the sound of the two drones gets better. That's a good indication they were out of tune, and moving in that direction makes it better. And once you've done that test, that informs your next move. So, okay, cool. The tuning got better when I moved in that direction. What should you do next?
Keep going until it gets worse.
Yeah, do it again,
Mm.
right? See what the result of doing it again is. And this time you do it again, hypothetically, and it gets even better. Amazing. Okay. Now, what's the next logical thing you want to do?
Do it again. Just keep going.
No,
Oh,
that's where you should stop. No, just stop. Yeah, you should stop there. No, 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 don't stop there. If something's working, keep doing
keep
it,
doing
right?
it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's not hard to figure out. However, a lot of pipers will move it, may have a couple of successful moves, and then when you're teaching them, then they just stop there.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god. Or when you're judging is even worse, because as a judge, you want to hear somebody really lock the pipes in. And the player will make two really good moves and get them pretty darn close,
Yeah,
but you don't wanna stop at pretty darn close,
yeah.
Stop when they're just, like, totally locked, kinda like when you're tuning a radio, right? Like, like, one of the old school ones,
Yes, yes.
not the digital ones. You're turning the little knob, you're getting it to 93.93 Q, the hits of today, yesterday, and what in the
And forever.
'70s, '80s, '90s, and today or whatever. You're trying to tune it to 93, and then you get, like, just so you can hear the signal.
And then
Is that
stop?
where you stop?
Yeah, no way.
No.
No
No,
way.
you keep the radio tuner going until the signal is as clear as you can possibly get it. And what do you usually do once you get it super clear? you usually would wanna go even just a little bit
Right.
past the mark, right?
Yep.
To confirm that that was the best mark. Tuning is the same way. So, we don't care whether the 2 drones are in tune, okay? We're gonna continually test until we achieve the best possible result.
Mhm.
And the same goes if you were to tune the bass and the tenor together. A lot of people say, "Oh, I just can't hear the bass." You can hear the bass because otherwise, how would you even know it was on? So I know you can hear it. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to continually test the bass drone relative to the tenor to just kind of like see what sort of things are going on. And the same will be true for the low A. So, like, is your C, Jim, on that, the bagpipe on the left
Mhm.
up there, is the C sharp or flat relative to the drones? Come on, you can do this,
Is the C sharp or flat to the drones? It's
Jim.
perfect.
The answer is who cares?
Ah, yeah, that's right. I opened strong with the "who cares," and then I lost it, didn't I?
Oh, did you just not get enough sleep last night, or were you
Confused.
trying to be
Did I
funny?
tell you that I had just had my 5th child? And of course I didn't get enough sleep last night.
Ugh. Okay, so the answer, as always, is who cares? And what am I gonna do instead of caring? I'm going to just test.
Uh,
Looks like you froze there.
Hang on a sec. I might have a signal problem. Oh, here we go. Found it. It's in the
Am I
settings.
back?
Yeah, got it. Alright, yep, we're back. Sorry about that. Well, I tell you what, why don't you back up, Andrew, and ask me again if my C sharp is sharp or flat?
No, I wanna keep
You don't
your
wanna get you're
I
not
wanna
gonna give
keep
me
your
a
moment. No,
mulligan
I'm
on
not
that
giving you
one?
another chance. No, we did have a moment we did have a momentary network glitch after,
Yes.
Jim's
I just
mishap.
immediately hang up.
Yeah.
Bye.
Oh, what do you know? What do you know? Jim's in he's got like a Wi-Fi router kill switch
That's
for
right, just a
moments
big
just
red
like
button
this.
on my desk.
Yeah. No, and not letting you off the hook that easy. So Jim said he thinks the C is perfectly in tune, but of course the correct answer is who cares? And what we're going to do is we're going to test
Mhm.
to figure out the result. Okay. So the answer to all tuning questions is just test and figure it out. And by the way, maybe you're a beginner and the test isn't revealing anything conclusive. Cool. So just go with what you got.
Mm.
When you're a beginner, 2 out of 3 times the test will reveal something conclusive. And if it doesn't, go with what you've got for now. But that basic idea of testing is what the who cares model is all about. We've got to get over the idea that we should just magically know what's wrong with our tuning.
Mm.
I think that's the biggest thing that I guess I was trying to come up with a clever way of saying. I think that's the biggest thing that causes people to make the mistake of just purchasing a fancy digital tuner and attempting to use that to get their pipes just minimally in tune so that they don't embarrass themselves, and then that's as far as they wanna go.
Yeah, I can speak from my own personal experience that, like, often it feels like magic when I see a really, really good player. I already think they sound great, and then I see them
Mhm.
reach up to a drone and make a small adjustment, and I go, "They sound
Yeah.
even more great, but they sounded great already before," and it's like it is like magic. I don't know how they did that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if I'd been playing the way they were playing before they made the adjustment, I would have already thought that I was just humming along, nothing to be desired. And
Yes,
somehow they
exactly.
knew, and they made this change, and it got even better?
Yeah, or maybe it didn't, right?
Mm,
So how many people here have been in the position where your bagpipes are sounding okay,
mhm.
therefore you are afraid to make any changes because you
Yeah,
don't wanna make it worse.
yeah.
So that's a huge thing, right? You get your bagpipe sounding okay. Now you're afraid to do anything else because you're worried that you might make it worse. Okay. And that's going to be a big problem, especially because, especially because once you tune your pipes never stay in tune for very long,
Okay,
even at the highest levels.
so then, Andrew, I might say something like, "Hey, Andrew, I think my bagpipes don't sound great, but they sound okay, but I'm worried that if I touch them, they'll get even worse." That's where I say, "Who cares?" Right?
I think you're still missing the point
Yeah.
here. 'Cause I think we should care whether we make them worse. Okay. But as to what's happening or as to what I might need to do to improve the pipes, the answer might be who cares?
Mhm.
Because we can just test to find out.
Yeah. It
Okay,
it
so we don't
do you think
Jim, I do want you to care about whether you sound good or not.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, no, I mean, who cares? As in, go ahead and touch them to see if something happens, right? Who cares if you
Yes.
make it worse? Because you can touch it again to
Mhm.
make it better. So,
Yeah, and we need to at some point, maybe not during a performance, okay, but
mhm,
at some point we do need to bite the bullet and be willing to make ourselves worse,
mhm,
because that's the only way we're going to learn how to do these skills, right?
yeah,
So I do know what you mean. When you look at a really experienced piper, it seems like magic what they're doing.
mhm,
Okay. But what they're doing is really just the high level of what you need to start to do,
mhm,
which is okay, my bagpipes are sounding okay right now, but honestly, I'd like them to sound a little bit better. Let's dig in and start doing some tests.
mhm.
Let's go through a couple of models
Yeah,
of how you might test, right?
mhm,
So my bagpipe is sounding okay, but it's not sounding great right now. So here's a common model. We would call this the chanter first tuning model. Let's see how the chanter relates to one drone. Okay. So what you would do, and you've probably seen this before if you're listening, you would turn off the bass drone and one tenor drone so that you just have one drone remaining with your pipes. Now we're going to test the low A relative to the drone. And there's a variety of different tests you could do. I recommend the pressure variance test. So now we're playing one low A with the drone, and let's just ease off the pressure ever so slightly. And what are we listening for when we do that? Jim, is the network strong enough to take a stab at that? What are we listening for when we do a little bit of pressure variance test?
who cares? No, I'm just kidding. Just
Okay,
kidding.
no,
We're
we
listening
don't
for
care. We don't care if the low A is in tune with the tenor. Okay, but we should care about what the result of the testing
right.
indicates to us.
So,
So
well,
what are we looking for?
does it sound better or worse as we let the
Good.
pressure off?
Cool. And you could be more specific and you could say like, do the beats that I hear
Right.
get faster or slower
Mhm,
as a result of a little bit of pressure variance testing. Okay. And then if the if we ease off the pressure and the beats get slower, that means my chanter was too high in pitch. And as I decrease the pitch, it got better. Meaning, see if you can follow the logic here. It means that the drone is flat relative to the chanter. It's lower in pitch.
mhm,
That's what flat means. Okay. So in order to fix that, I can sharpen the drone. Okay, so I can give that a try, and then I can recompare the low A to the drone again.
mhm.
Now, now I recompare the drone to the chanter. Is the chanter still flat? Jim, hit me in the chat.
Is it still flat? Yes, it's
Is the
still
chanter
flat.
still flat?
Are you asking me for
No,
no,
no, Jim. No,
you're
you're killing
flat.
me, Smalls.
Okay.
No.
Now
So
we
now
fixed
I've
it.
done.
Okay.
Now I've attempted to fix the drone, and I'm listening to the chanter relative to the drone again. Is it still flat,
No,
Jim?
it sounds perfect. Bang on.
No, no,
Hang on a sec.
Jim.
1 sec, 1 second. Who cares?
Ah, there it is. So now that we've made the change to the drone and we compare the low A to the drone again, okay? We don't care if it's good or not. Who cares? We're going to do another test to see if maybe we could improve it even more still, or if the result of that test is that it gets worse, not better. And that's how we know that we're close. We're going to do that test again. We're going to trial and error a few different more things until a chanter and the drone are in tune the way that we want.
Yes.
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 By the way, that might take a little bit of time. You're seldom going to be perfect, when you do it. But the benefit of doing all this and continuing and committing to the trial and error, who cares process, is your ear is and your brain and your experience is going to get better and better, and you're going to learn more and more about what in tune is actually going to sound like, how your bagpipe's actually behaving, how the chanter changes in pitch over time. All this important information is going to be learned through the who cares method, which, by the way, we've figured this out. It's kind of a terrible name and philosophy for a method in itself, but it's a good thought experiment. We've got the drone and the chanter. Is it in tune? Not quite sure, but it's certainly as good as we can get the radio channel. It's as good as we can get it. Now let's turn on another drone. Okay. Now we're going to tune the two drones together. When we first turn on the drone, is it in tune with the first drone yet? When we first turn on drone number two?
Who cares?
Yes, Jim, very good. Yeah, the answer is, of course, who cares? Even if you turn it on and it sounds perfectly in tune to you, it's still a who cares. Knowing it's pretty close will inform how much you might move it.
Mhm,
Like, okay, let's move it a teeny bit up. Like it's sounding amazing, but let's move it a teeny bit up. Now, when you move it a teeny bit up, does it is it in tune there? Who cares? We're still going to wiggle and jiggle. We're going to search around that radio station trying to find the perfect spot where everything is in. And we're seldom going to go with our first move. We're always going to do that testing. Remember that the testing is what is going to develop that magical ear
mhm.
that you're looking for, that you're wondering how it's possible that these great players can like tune so well and it seems so effortless and magical. It's the result of literally hundreds of thousands of tests, right? Once you do like 67,000 drone tests, you're gonna get pretty good at it.
Mhm, mhm,
You hear what I'm saying, bro?
mhm.
If you accumulate a grand total of 0 tests because you're convinced you don't have the ear and that you suck and that you need a digital tuner and that's the only hope to even get anywhere close, guess what? You're never gonna get the ear because you haven't done it 67,000 times
Eh
like I have or
right, and this
like
is
Jack Lee
I
has.
mean, this is the reveal of, I think, one of the bits of wisdom behind the path of who cares, right?
The path. Follow the path, everyone.
Is that if I care too much, right? I'm over like, I care very much in this way, right? We should like you say, we should care, right? But if I'm caring so much that my pipes are staying here on the wall, right? So, because 'cause I'm
Mhm.
like, "I don't think I can tune them. 'em. I'm worried my neighbors will think I sound bad. I'm worried I sound bad, so I'm just not gonna play them that much." But then even when I do
Yeah,
play
it's
'em
the gun case method.
yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah, like, just keep it locked away, right? Not even gonna and then
Yeah,
when I do play, I'm so scared to touch the drones or to mess with the reed or anything like that, right? Because I care so much about it being absolutely perfect. The who cares comes in to make me go, "I'm gonna play anyway. I'm gonna mess with that drone anyway. I'm gonna touch that reed
yeah,
anyway. Who cares?" Right? And that's actually the path to knowing what I so when I do care, like, "Oh, I do wanna be in tune," I know how to make that happen.
right, and, even if you got your pipes in tune perfectly today, will they be perfectly in tune tomorrow?
Who cares?
Okay, nice try. I think I'll give you partial credit, but
Say no.
the odds that a bagpipe today will be perfectly in tune tomorrow are very slim. And the reason for that is all the different variables at play. For example, your chanter reed changes in pitch over time as we play. There's external environment factors that come into play. So your bagpipe is not going to be perfectly in tune tomorrow if it was in tune today. By the way, how do I know that? It's from years and years of testing, and through your tests, you'll start to realize, like, oh, my chanter reed increases in pitch as I play.
Mm,
Oh man, my high G starts a little bit sharp, but if I just wait for it, it flattens off. Oh, why would that be? Oh, maybe it's the onset of moisture. Ah, okay, interesting. So, oh, what happens if I lick my reed? Oh, okay, cool. Well, the high G flattens off, but then it starts to sharpen up. What's up with that? It's like, oh, okay. So over time, right, through testing, learning to use your ears and your brain combined to observe the results of all these different tests, this is how you develop a real knowledge of bagpipe sound and how it works. And it's very complex. Okay. So the only real way to sound good all the time is to actually learn the techniques and not to take shortcuts.
but then somewhat counterintuitively, a part of that development of the ability is to not care, to in a way, right? To
Mhm.
chill about it. I'm, like, very much a dad right now, and so maybe this is too much, right? But I can't help thinking of just last week, my daughter, who's recently started piano, she was given a worksheet where she's supposed to write notes, and they've
Mhm.
got the first note on the line is, like, typographied into there, right? It's, like, printed on the page, and when she drew her first note, the circle wasn't a smooth, clean circle, and it didn't have a straight stick on it, and she felt so upset that it didn't come out perfect like the first one that she didn't wanna do the rest of them, right?
Yeah.
It's like, until she could do it perfectly, she didn't wanna put any down on the page, and trying to talk her through this, like, "You just gotta do it. That's how you'll get better." Like, if I'd
Mhm.
had your wisdom at the time, Andrew, I would have said, "Darling, enter with me the path of who cares." Right? We've gotta say, "Who
Yes.
cares? Just." make some circles and sticks on the page,
Mhm.
just do it.
Just try one.
Yeah, yeah.
Just try another one, and
Exactly.
observe the results.
Yeah.
And what's really going on is probably like some Popperian knowledge creation,
Mm,
right? So, what would really happen is, okay, that first circle turned out kinda crappy. Now I can now you make a conjecture, which would be, okay, now maybe I'll try it like this, maybe with 2 fingers on the pencil instead of 3 or
right, yeah.
something, but maybe like 2 fingers on the pencil, maybe that'll get me a better circle. So there's a conjecture, and even tiny kids do that, right? So actually what comes first, is an idea,
Yeah, yeah.
okay? And when you're piping, the idea might be, okay, well, maybe if I move the drone up, it'll sound better. It's just
Mm,
an idea.
mhm.
That idea could be totally right or totally wrong. Who cares? Okay. We're going to do the thing. And then we're going to make observations and criticize what just happened. So the observation or criticism would be something along the lines of, oh, when I moved the drone up, actually did sound better. And you could over time define what makes it better. It's like, oh, the circle actually was better. Well,
Mm,
how do you know it's better? Well, compared to the typography one, it looks way more similar.
yeah.
Same would go with the straight line. But you keep doing that: conjecture, criticism, repeat, conjecture, criticism, repeat, blah blah blah, et cetera, until eventually you find what seems to be the best, the best possible way of doing it.
Yeah.
But fascinatingly, it's the way of doing it we care about, and not so much the result.
Mhm.
Because the assumption is the result is never perfect.
Yeah.
Kind of like Newton's laws of gravity, right? Newton was like, "Hey, I figured out this gravity thing." And for a long time, and still to this day, like the Newtonian basics, it's like how we build structures and we do all this stuff. But then there were a couple of problems, like, wait a minute, like during the solar eclipse, like why does the light curve like that?
Mm,
That's kind of messed up. But then anyway, so there's a couple of problems with like the Newtonian method of, thinking about gravity. And those problems, are what guided like in my understand I'm not a physicist, but like, my understanding is like that's where Einstein comes in, right? And then like he came up with this entirely new way of thinking about things, which as it turns out is by the way, totally different than Newton, but actually gives a better like description of gravity and how it all works. For example, there is no downward force holding us to the earth. It's like not actually what it is.
right, right. Because now we know that the Earth is, a disk, whereas
Yes,
yeah.
exactly, man. Well, that's the new cutting edge theory.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that actually the earth is flat,
Right.
which of course can be rejected on a whole bunch of grounds. Yeah, exactly. So the earth is flat is kind of like a bagpipe tuner is what I need to learn to tune.
The flat the flat Earth digital bagpipe tuner.
By the way, I just said that to trigger you. Of course, digital tuners can be quite handy in some circumstances,
Very
but they
useful
don't
tool,
teach us.
absolutely.
But by the way, they don't help us develop this conjecture, criticism, feedback loop,
Sure, this
right?
would that
Which
would
is
it would be like if my daughter had, like, a rubber stamp for the notes. It's she wouldn't be learning how to write the notes.
sure, or if she used computer software
Right, yeah, which she will
instead of
someday,
writing
but
it out.
right now we're
Yeah,
starting her with a pencil and paper.
exactly right. No, that's a great point. And just kind of like, I was kind of grinding away at what you said because I really agreed with it earlier when you said like, where it's actually not the result that we care about, right? It's like the process,
Mhm.
right? So, becoming obsessed with perfecting the process and finding the best way
Mm,
to do things is going to naturally lead to great result, right? And it's actually the process that we care about. It's actually the explanations,
mm,
right, and the procedures. That's what we need to get good at, and then the end result will either be successful or not, depending on the quality of your processes. And so the processes is the key thing. So, like, what's the process of getting the drones in tune? Okay, cool. You can try a wide variety.
yeah.
There's one process that for some reason all the great pipers use, which is like steady blowing, well set up drone reads, and then we're just going to test. Just move the drone up or down, and that's going to inform whether things are sharp or flat.
Hmm.
I can usually identify whether a bass drone is sharp or flat relative to a tenor, but it's because I'm good at the process. And so I've just sort of like memorized
Mm.
at this
How
point,
it should feel,
what
how
it
it should
sounds
sound.
like. Yeah.
Yeah.
How it sounds or feels like. And you can sort of like you can sort of intuit
Yes.
whether the bass
Yeah.
needs to go down or up just based on the fact I've done it so many times.
Mm.
It's the process, right? And that's what we're trying to do here, with the tuning process and in the upcoming tuning course. It's like, let's learn what the process is really all about.
Hmm.
And let's try and just commit to getting good at that.
Yeah. So it feels a little bit like maybe what one should expect from the course would be something like, here are like this is what the process is like, but it's not like then at the end of the course, you now are in possession of immediate perfect tuning. It's more like now you can go and do this hundreds, thousands of times over the rest of our lives, really. It's like
Yes.
love the process, and that's how you'll get joy out of playing it. I mean,
Yeah. And
that's a metaphor for life, isn't it? It's the
commit to it, right?
yeah.
Like I think committing to it is the key.
Mm.
So the reason we want to put the digital tuner in the fish tank, okay,
In a
which is
Ziploc
just a
baggie, to be clear.
yeah, like use a Ziploc if you need to. The idea there is not that we need to destroy the digital tuner, but it's that we need to put it down and just really quit that thing cold turkey for long enough to develop the processes and learn where the digital tuner might be handy in a couple of cases.
Yeah, and then introduce it to use when it would be, the appropriate tool to use.
Yeah,
Mm,
there are really big hints out there that a digital tuner is not really how the sausage is made.
mm, nice.
Uh, you know what I mean? It's like for example, I've never seen a solo piper with a digital tuner on stage ever in my whole life.
Mm,
By the way, that's different with other types of instruments.
it
For
is, yeah,
example,
that's true.
every now and then you will see like a guitarist with a digital tuner on a stage,
Mhm.
but not a bagpiper.
If you ever see a mandolin player without a tuner, I suggest you maybe ought to wonder what's going on just 'cause those poor instruments need retuned about every 2 minutes.
Right, exactly. And then pipe bands never use digital tuners either,
Mm,
except for one application. But notice how they don't tune any chanters with the digital tuner? I've never seen it. SFU, Inverary, Field Marshal, Bog Hall,
it's always around the
Scottish
drones,
Power.
isn't it? That's funny, I'd never
Yeah, like it's
actually
only around the
noticed that
drones, but
before.
then you'll also notice that
Hmm.
only super experienced people are doing those drones. Like, what do you need their experience for? You never actually what was that, Jim? Sorry, we lost your network there for a second.
I had never noticed before that, like, yeah, all the images that I can call up into my mind of people using digital tuners at, like, the Worlds, it's always going around the ring of drones, and I cannot call to mind an image of somebody going around at the bottom of chanters
Yeah.
with a tuner.
The only possible exception to that would be when you are getting the reference pitch for the
Sure,
drones.
yeah, yeah.
Some people will check it against low A. However, nowadays, usually you take that reference pitch from a drone,
Mm,
or maybe you would do a combination of both. But again, keyword reference, reference.
reference, yeah.
The tuner can be useful, but real tuning happens without it,
Mm,
or at least like the real, the foundation of it all comes from learning the intuition and learning to use your ear and your brain
mm,
to make good tuning decisions. And it all comes down to who cares in the sense that when we listen to something and we want to know if it's in tune or not, the answer is who cares? Like we can test to find the result.
mm,
The test could be as simple as a wild guess. So just move something in one direction, okay, and observe the result. Or you can do more advanced types of testing like pressure variance or using a little finger trick
mhm,
or something like that.
mm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I'm excited about the tuning course. I finally feel like I know enough about how to explain what's really going on and how you should approach it. And then it's exciting to like get all the thoughts into one place.
Yeah, for sure. D Is there an official, like, launch date for it already in place? Or should people just hop
There,
over to Piper's Dojo and just see if it's showing up?
yeah, early October.
Okay.
Yeah, early October. And then what we'll do is maybe we should set up like, I don't know. We'll set up some sort of link. Maybe we can
Mhm.
include it in the show notes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's do that.
'Kay.
Link in the show notes if you're curious. At the very least, the link will say when the tuning course is going to launch.
Yeah.
Uh, there's been a couple of unavoidable delays, unfortunately. So hopefully we'll still get it out when I intended it to, but I don't want to say any dates yet. But But yeah, and then maybe you're listening to this episode far in the future, in which case, make sure you check out the course.
Mhm, mhm.
It's gonna be really cool. So it starts with like a theory section, and then we do like an in-depth workshop session showing you how to develop all the procedures. And then there's lots of cool bonuses,
Yeah, well, these
like a text.
interviews, if nothing else, that sound awesome. I wanna hear those.
Yeah. So I've collected as many interviews with great pipers as I can, just talking about how they learn to tune, what techniques they use. The hypothesis being everybody basically does it the same way.
Mm,
And the hypothesis has mostly rung true. Been a couple of surprising things that have come out, but we also have like a really cool textbook to accompany the course,
mm.
just everything laid out in book form, which will be pretty cool. There's going to be a 1 year tuning or sorry, I actually changed it. It's going to be 3 months
Mm.
of a tuning training plan that you can use to kind of like put yourself on a 90-day trajectory to really mastering the techniques of tuning, or if not mastering, then getting yourself like way down the path
Well,
in just about 90 days,
that
which will be
sounds
cool.
very, very intriguing. I pretty recently kinda had a epiphany moment where I just kinda said to myself, like, I've been doing this for too long to feel this lost about tuning still. In fact,
Amen, my
I feel
brother.
more lost than ever in some ways. And I went down and in fact, I spent a week playing only 1 tenor drone, and then another 2 weeks playing only 2 tenor drones, partly because of this, because I kinda wanted to strip it back to the basics to try to, like, can I hear myself even, you know? So,
Yeah,
I'd follow a 90-day plan like that for sure. That sounds like exactly what I want right now.
yeah. Well, oh, another bonus is an origami digital tuner coffin.
It really
Yep.
that's fun.
So, if you get the course, you'll get that as
So you
well.
don't have to use the fish tank, you could just put it in the coffin for a while.
Yep, and you can just bury it. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. Yeah, we should. You know what I'll do? I'll give you access to the prototype of the course, Jim, and then
I'll dive into it.
you can come back with some criticisms on the podcast.
Yeah, you know it. I'll come back and be like, "I did the entire course, and let me tell you right now, Andrew, who cares?"
Exactly. Well, again, I feel like who cares? Maybe we were a little too. No, it's a little too cavalier. Maybe just I can now clearly see where there might be some confusion here about the who cares philosophy.
The extremity of it, though, might be useful in that it breaks something that like, it breaks
Mm,
existing assumptions in a useful way, right?
could be.
So
Yeah.
maybe it's good for it to be too extreme because you can have that pendulum swing too far and then bring it back to center.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, this has been a fun one. Thanks for doing this. And yeah, the tuning course coming out early October.
Early October. Awesome.
And keep an eye out on the dojo channels that you like to check out, and we'll go from there.